You're listening to Racing Future Radio. Here's your host, Mr. Dennis Mills, with this week's guest, Mr. John Snobelen.
That leads me to this other point that you touched on, and that has to do with the whole commitment. I guess it was about a year ago that Premier Wynne mentioned at a press conference at one of the racetracks, I think it was Grand
River.
Grand River, that there was going to be a commitment of the panel and her government to integrate horse racing into the Ontario and lottery gaming system, which is one of the most successful lottery systems in the world. What does that mean, and how does it work?
It's a really great question because, if you ask 5 people what integration means, they'll give you 5 different answers. I think but it's pretty clear what the government means by that. They mean that Premier Wynne has been real clear about one thing, and that is that she doesn't want to just see a racehorse industry survive. She wants it to thrive and grow. For it to thrive and grow, it needs to have a revenue stream that will help it thrive and grow and build. And we think that the quality product is the product that we can put out to horse players around the world that will give us a reasonable revenue return and help our breeders breed better horses. So it's a cycle that we need to make sure runs efficiently. To do that, there's a base amount of funding that the horse racing industry needs to have. Now, the government's committed $500 million over the next 5 years to help be that base. And frankly, that comes through our general revenues, but it's seen by the government as a share of the gaming revenues they get in from all sources. From here forward, though, look at the opportunities we have. OLG has a very, very good marketing operation. They do an awful lot of marketing to their gamblers and players in Ontario. We can use their expertise. We don't have to reinvent it. And, I think you'll see some announcements in the next not too distant future about how we might formally do that with OLG. It makes great sense. And now we have an industry, a development arm with the horse industry, the Ontario Horse Racing, to marry OLG and the horse racing industry together on promotions. Secondly, there is obviously racetracks, and this is true around North America, are great sites for gaming. They're community friendly. People have naturally associated gaming with horse racing forever, I guess since the Romans were racing chariots. And so it's a natural fit. Horse racing benefits right now from having slots at tracks because that slot rental helps pay for the overall operation of the facility. We need to formalize that arrangement. We need to have those be long-term agreements, and I think OLG is working towards that right now. And we also have to have the horse racing industry get a piece of revenue or percentage of revenue from horse-related products that we can put through the OLG distribution network. That might include a horse lottery. I think there's a lot of work being done on that right now, as they do in Europe. Obviously, instant racing is something that's a pari-mutuel product that we think that will fit into an expanded off-track network around Ontario, and that looks like increased revenues for the industry. So it's a combination of making sure that we have our racetracks continue to be community-friendly hosts for gaming activities, and that the racehorse industry is supported by the rents that are paid at those facilities, and that the industry has a combination of support on the marketing side from OLG and also revenue from gaming opportunities.
Well, when I look at the Ontario Lottery and Gaming financial statements, I see that better than 50% of their profit comes from the collective revenues of the slots at the tracks. Now, I realize that this is one of those chicken and egg things. Without the slots, that revenue wouldn't be there to share with the tracks, partner with the tracks. But without the infrastructure, OLG wouldn't have been able to be in business, with an existing presence and fan base already. What I don't understand, and maybe you can enlighten us here, is if I'm OLG and I know that better than 50% of my revenue comes from that partnership, it would seem to me that I would cater and lean to that strength through those, as you touched on, those 10,000 distribution outlets throughout the province, in all these variety stores and smaller community centers, wherever they have OLG gaming outlets. You touched on the lottery bet. I don't know why they just don't act on this and get that going, because it wouldn't cost OLG a lot. It would, in fact, it might even supplement and generate more income for the province, but at the same time, it would help build up the fan base, which in turn supports a lot of employment here in Canada.
Yeah, you'll know, and particularly in Europe, there's some great success at this, and I'm not sure.
But is there some resistance here from the OLG?
I don't know that's resistance or it's just non-traditional. I mean, I think resistance at this juncture. I think there might have been. I suspect there was, in previous months, but I know for the last few months we've been working really hard with Phil Olson, who's the new chair of OLG, to work on those products. He's got a team of people working on how to do that, and it's not, you can't make that decision in 2 weeks, but they've been working hard on it. They've sent a team around to look at how horse racing industry is supported around the world and how it works in synergy with the other gaming opportunities, in Australia and Europe and Hong Kong and other places. So they're building up a knowledge base. I think that you'll see they'll be coming up with some products over the next few months. We have a 5-year window on this particular horse racing partnership plan, so we want to roll out products as quickly as we can that'll help support both the gaming revenues for the province, because that's important, and also the racing industry. I think there's lots of room for synergy here, and there's I think maybe what your question really is there goodwill, and I think there is now between OLG and certainly the folks I work with. And that's at the very senior level. I think there's a great opportunity here for the synergies between the two organizations. In the past, we've had reports that maybe got in the way of that. If you think back to the Drummond report, it was 2011, I think. Don Drummond pointed out, and his panel pointed out that lots of times the slot operations at racetracks weren't in the optimal locations.
John, thank you so much for your support, your dedication, and good luck. Keep it going. Hope to have you back soon.
All right, enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay.
You've been listening to Racing Future Radio with your host, Mr. Dennis Mills. This week's guest was Mr. John Snobelen.